What is this, our money?
Oh, no, that's extra names.
Well, these are nice.
Best I got. I call this meeting of the MMMPO to order. Let's go to work.
Okay.
First item is public comment. Do we have anyone that wishes to speak before the group from the public? Seeing none, hearing none, public comment period is closed. The third item is, as we know, just a carryover. The election of officers has already taken place.
Yeah, I apologize that was a cut and paste error.
That's all right. We'll let it slide.
Fourth item, approval of the minutes. Everybody has received a copy of the minutes. Is there any concerns on the minutes?
Move approval.
Second.
Been moved and seconded, approval of the minutes. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the approval of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Committee reports. Citizens Advisory Committee.
Mr. Chairman, unfortunately, the chairman of the Citizens Advisory Committee could not make it tonight. We did have a full quorum at the Citizens Advisory Committee. They did review the agenda items, and they also did recommend approval of the TIP amendments as presented by the state. So it was a good meeting, and we do have a new member from the county, and he participated very well.
Good.
So.
Okay. Finance.
Yes. Before I give the report for March and April, I need to note that our beginning balance in March is $331 more than it showed on our financial report in February, and the reason for that is we had to void a check that was lost in the mail.
Yeah.
So with that being said, our beginning balance for March was $93,918.71. We had 3 deposits during that month totaling $54,419.51. 18 disbursements totaling $47,224.96, with an ending balance in March of $101,113.26 to carry us over into April. During April, we had 2 deposits totaling $40,751.32, 19 disbursements totaling $35,242.62, leaving us an ending balance of $106,621.96.
Is there any questions? Is there a motion to accept the report?
So move.
So moved, second.
Second.
Then moved and second to accept the Treasury's report. Again, any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, the Executive Director's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did want to comment on the checks missing in the mail. We've actually had 3 checks missing in the mail. And in fact, one of the vendors we sent them to noted that he had received a notice from the Postal Service that the check was to be delivered that day. It never came. So it's a very odd situation that we will continue to monitor. But I wanted to let everybody know about that. That what was kind of strange. I will also report that the steering committee for the microsimulation study met earlier this month and had a good meeting. The primary purpose of that meeting was to explain the computer model and to explain all the data that was collected to go into the computer model so that the steering committee members would have a good understanding of the process of the microsimulation. The next meeting, which should occur at the end of June, will be more of a commentary period for the steering committee members to talk about scenarios that they would like to see modeled using the microsimulation model. Also, the consultants will be preparing a survey which can be taken particularly by the the downtown business community, as well as the general public, and that will also be distributed, so we're excited about that. That will be good public input that will go into the microsimulation study. So that study's moving forward and progressing well. I will also report that MPO staff will be out of the office most of next week. The statewide planning conference is next week, beginning on Tuesday and over on Thursday. And I will need to leave a little early. I have an early morning meeting on Tuesday morning, and a 3.5-hour drive at 5 o'clock in the morning doesn't really work well for me. So we will be out those days. The MPO staff will be out those days. And that's my report right now.
Any questions of the executive director? Quiet group tonight, and something I need to mention to the public that's out there, we do have a quorum, so let the minutes reflect we've had a quorum on all the votes. Next item of business is number 6. I want to bring up something on number 6. I've been talking to some and working with our executive director. I don't have concerns per se with the 155 tip, I believe what you call it, Star City.
Interchange, yeah.
Star City interchange. I don't have what you would call concerns, but I want more information on that particular tip before I move forward. With the timing that's on that tip, I don't think we make any kind of an issue if we do not act upon this tip tonight. And so we got two different tip amendments, and now I want to bring it a little bit more together, and this will be up to the group because it's before you. I'm going to ask you, as committee chair, I want to appoint an informational committee to look at 155, to meet with the state, to narrow down on some things that's out there, how we're going to move forward. Also, the county commissions involved in this with the money they had got from the federal. So I don't want anybody to believe that we're trying to put the brakes on, to slow it down, or to hold it up. I certainly don't want the folks in Charleston to feel that way. That's not my point. My point is I just want some good, clear directions of where we're at. I know that can change as we go forward, but at this point, I'm being asked to vote on something that I want a little better clarification on. I will leave, as far as my part is concerned, I will leave the bridge amendment, tip amendment on there as is, but I'm also going to ask that that same project, this committee look at that also. I'm calling it an informational committee. So we're not going to take any action. If you'll prove that tonight, we're not going to take any action. I'm just asking them to give me some steering. And if that seems okay, and we don't have to have a vote on that, but if that seems okay with the group that's sitting here now, I'll name the committee tonight that will work on 155, the Star City exit interchange. We'll also look at the bridge one. More of information is all we're looking at there.
I would concur with what the chairman's presented and think that more discussion with this smaller group or to report back to the bigger group would be good.
Any concerns from anyone? Hearing none, I will participate. I will ask Sean Secor on behalf of the County Commission to participate. Russ, I would ask that you participate. And Ron, I would ask that you participate in that. Bill will also participate. And what I'm asking Bill to do is to basically name the people from the state level that we would like to come in and sit down and talk and meet on this. Any concerns from anyone on that?
I'm curious, what are your expected outcomes from this?
I don't have any expected outcomes.
Clarification.
Just clarification. I was going to say, yeah, I just,
Clarification.
clarifications, because Bill, I don't know about you, but this project started a good while ago. I don't know where it's at now compared to where it was, what's moving forward. you know, what are the commitments? What's the money commitment? What is the project commitment? Even on when it went to the feds. And I'm very mindful that we do not want to lose this project, nor do we want to lose that federal funding that was just
It's a
approved.
timing problem. Yeah.
And that is critical to us. So I guess my expectations would be, and I want to move on this as soon as possible to get some of those questions answered without each one of us having to go and ask the questions where we need to get them from. Because I'm expecting, Bill, we talked about the other day, what, 5 to 6 people from the state we would like to ask.
There would be probably 3 or 4 individuals that would be appropriate to discuss it
Okay.
with, and they would be in the vicinity of the secretary's level of discussion. And as we know, we're coming on summer. We may not be able to get all of those folks, but I think we can get a responsible person or two
That's what we need.
that can address
Yep.
some of those issues.
Mr. President, would you mind if, since there's no one from the municipality, and Steve is with Star City, would you mind if Steve would also be on that committee? That way you have a representative from the municipality from this group.
I don't have an issue with that. I thought about that when I was
Yeah.
thinking about who was going to point, and I'll tell you the truth, I'm trying to be a little bit of political here. I know basically there's also Patty Granville. It goes through the area there. I just didn't want to, I don't want to
Right.
give myself any problems going forward, because I'm not looking for problems. I'm looking for some answers.
Would that be all right, Patty? Would you have, okay.
That's fine with you,
That,
Patty?
thank you. That would, yeah, just so that way,
That works, yes.
good.
I just kind of want to point out with the policy and the TIP amendment that we're talking about here, what the TIP amendment is only doing is, right now, a program is $66 million, I believe, in state funds, and we're converting that 66 million, we're doing the 90-10 split with the state and federal fund. That's the only change that's happening here. So I would rather adopt this TIP amendment because that frees up $59 million of state dollars that we can match other federal projects from the state. I'm just saying that.
I think that's where the issue lies.
This is not going, I fully support the idea of getting these, having these discussions, 155 getting to be a big animal. Nobody here is going to make any bones about that. There's a lot of money, a lot of ideas, and a lot of things happening with that project. So we all want to be on the same page. This TIP amendment doesn't change any of that. It's freeing up state money for us to utilize and match other federal dollars around the state. And without us being able to do that, because our budget statewide is changing on a daily basis, changing on an hourly basis, to be able to match federal dollars in and around the state project. This frees up $57 million or whatever that total amount is of state dollars for us to do that. Delaying that between now and whenever, we have to get all of our state or federal projects authorized, or we start not being able to perhaps use all of our federal dollars because we don't have enough state match. We gotta have this pretty much now, because we're gonna be looking to spend down a lot of our federal authority between now and the end of August. Because of the deadline, in September 30th, and we usually have that last month for all the paperwork and everything to show included. That is the only thing this TIP amendment does, is change the federal laws.
Yes, sir, Ron.
Mr. Chair, in all due respect, I think that's part of the clarification that we want to get, because this project's very unique, because now we have a federal opportunity as well as a state opportunity, and before we release any funds that could be used in other areas of the state, I think we need to do our due diligence to make sure the funds that were appropriated and voted on by this community to stay in this community, whether it be federal or state, or doesn't matter to me, and I think we need more clarification on that. I think that's why we need to hold this up. Once we vote on this TIP amendment, you just said it, we release those funds to be used in other parts of the state because of that federal match, and that concerns me.
The project is, nothing's changed. The funding for this project is exactly the same amount. It's just distributed between federal and state. Right now, it's all state.
Well,
That hasn't changed.
And that's what we need to hear from the folks that Bill's going to get in the room, so.
Okay. That's,
Mr.
I
Chairman?
was going to say, go ahead.
I think as a point of procedure, we would probably like a motion to table
That's
this
what-
until the next
So moved.
meeting.
On the 155, we want to move forward on the bridge, right? Tip amendment?
I think we're crazy just to not move on the bridge.
Okay. So
I will tell you, the chair will entertain a motion on what we're talking about on the floor.
Okay.
I would move to table the tip amendment on exit 155.
I'll second.
Been moved and second to table the,
Yeah, can you, Brian, I'm sorry, I was late. I
just a
was-
second. It's been moved and seconded to table the 155 exit this time. We're open for discussion. Mr.
I
Sikora.
had a question about this amendment. Star City, I see improvement, federal fiscal year 2029, construction phase action, federal funds increase from 0 to 59 million, total cost is 66 million. This is, you're moving around funds for fiscal year 29? Is that what that means? You're dealing with funding that's
I
out
think
there?
that's where it's at now.
Yeah, so it's out there now. So how is that released? Because those dollars aren't constrained, correct?
Yes and
I
no.
thought we were only 4 years out as far as what was constrained or not. So what are we releasing?
On the federal side, that is correct.
Okay. So, and again, I'm trying to understand and again, I apologize, I'm late, but it's saying to increase funds from 0 to 59 million. The total cost of the project is 66, and you're saying it's moving dollars from the state side to the federal side. So on the federal side, that fiscal year 29 funds aren't constrained? I mean, I'm sorry, on the state side?
We do have a limited amount of federal state dollars available. And, again, we are constantly balancing and rebalancing our STIP. We're constantly moving projects from currently we're in FY 24, and it's physically constrained, I believe, through FY 26. So anything, 26, I gave you, there's so many numbers in my head, 26, 27. So anything beyond that, it's not physically constrained, with the amount of money that we have. So,
Now you're really gonna get it.
thank you, appreciate that. I'm sure everybody wants to hear what I have to say. So, this project, any project of this size, that, when you're talking this amount of money, we're constantly having to move things in and around the STIP to have it balanced. We'll have other projects that, for example, a lot of good project might be $20 million. We might have Tony program, we can't meet, maybe it's an environmental, so it gets pushed out. But other projects might have to get put back in. This project, and right now, if I'm not mistaken, the way it's all combined with the grant that has been received by Warren County, it's got to be obligated and authorized by a certain date, and it has to be extended. Most of them are about 3 years past that date. So if you don't have those funds obligated by that magical date, and I don't know exactly what it is for the grant that you got, you're going to lose it. So unless the federal government grants an extension, right now, that doesn't happen. So right now, while this project in FY 29, if it stays in FY 29, we're not going to meet the obligations of the grant. We're going to have to move it back in at some point in time.
And that
This
was,
is simply a funding mechanism that we do on a day-to-day basis, hour-to-hour basis, with projects trying to figure out the puzzle of how the federal dollars, state dollars, and everything match up with what we have, what we expect to have, and so on and so forth. That's the only thing this thing is doing, it's federalizing this project, and we do that all the time, where we have state projects we federalize it, we have, oftentimes what we'll call advanced construction, which I believe is kind of like a lot of what the bridge is, the industrial park bridge. You are advanced construction, basically, we're paying for it up front with state dollars, so we can get reimbursed for it later with the federal dollars. That's what we call advanced construction. So there's constantly a moving puzzle. It's always changing, and these are just the financial tools that we have available to us to be able to do this type of stuff.
Correct, and that's why I want to make sure that what, and again, you've hit on a number of things of what we're trying to zero in on. In recent meetings, we took up an action to move those dollars there, and then we realized, oh, okay, those dollars are in '29. When is this project going to actually get started? And that's why we're like, okay, wait a minute. Now, and you're right, we have the 66 million that was originally projected from the state and promised to our area, and then we got this grant of 54, and now we've got to figure out how we're going to do that and make sure that at the same time we're made as whole as possible. We want as many dollars flowing through Mon County for this project as possible. So that's the reason for, hey, we have to figure out how all these projects connect. Especially in regards to exit 155. And I appreciate your explanation, because when I see 50-29, I'm trying to think, how does this actually, us holding up on this action, how does it really do anything in regards to what we still want to do between, in figuring out these two projects?
Well, hypothetically, if all of a sudden that we get an agreement in place for the grant that Mon County has received, and we want to start, hey, let's get some engineering started here. This has to happen before we can start engineering. This has to happen before we can do anything. So if that were to happen, say, which is kind of, let's flip the script here a little bit, kind of like the bridge, it's been moving at light speed. And without all these steps happening, it's going to delay being able for the federal government to allow, to authorize the funds for us to spend. So, the intent here really is it's not going to stay out 29, it can't, but we're going to lose the grant.
Correct.
Thank you.
So it's going to have to go back in at some point. When that's going to be, I don't know. That could be tomorrow, that could be next month, that could be 6 months from now, I don't know.
I think that's,
But the first question I get asked from my boss is this in the tip? Can we do this? Is it in the tip? And my answer is going to have to be no, it's not. Then the next question is, well, how soon can we get it?
after we meet with these folks.
Fortunately, you guys have a lot of meetings, but, that was why I say a few months ago it was so imperative that we got the bridge in the tip of the ship as quickly as we did. Because you saw how quickly that came about. Same thing could happen with 155. And we certainly don't want to get caught with holding things up for a couple of months, whatever. That's...
Fortunately, we do have a June meeting.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, I'd like to call a question on the motion.
Question's been called on the motion. All those in favor of the question on the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The question has been called, discussion has been stopped. The motion before us is the table, looking at the Star City I-55 interchange tonight. Any discussion on that motion? That is a discussable motion.
We're talking on which one right now? I apologize.
We're talking on at 155, the motion to, table, I'm
To
sorry.
table.
And that is not discussion.
Right.
I'm getting a little ahead.
Right.
So all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We'll go. So the motion carried. Now we're back to what the original motion was. Basically, we have out there, we have pulled 155 from the discussion tonight.
Right.
My question to the group is, I still want to, as chair, to appoint that committee to look at these projects. I don't think there's anything in that motion that you just put forward limits the ability of the chair to appoint a committee to do that. So that committee has been appointed. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I did want to clarify that the bridge amendments,
It's still on
We're
there.
going to still take
just
that.
want to make
The bridge amendment
Yes.
is still before the group, so that one will take a motion.
I would move to move forward with the tip amendment for the bridge across the Mon River. What's the exact language on that bill?
it's the Morgantown Industrial Park Access Road.
I
Right.
would move to move that forward.
And it is, just to be clear, it is reducing the funds programmed in the current fiscal year to $20 million, but adding new projects to fund the remainder of the funds that were taken out in future years.
That's correct.
Just to clarify exactly
Yep.
what action the board's taking. So the amount of funding stays the same. They're simply staggering the fiscal years that the money's coming from.
Correct.
Any further discussion? Been moved and seconded that we move that tip amendment forward. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Tip amendment moves forward.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Item number 7 is the update on community gardens. And this one, I'm telling you fellas, we're up against the calendar here. We've got to get them gardens in. So, Mr. Executive Director, do you want to talk to us about that?
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. The selection committee for the community garden program received 4 applications for community gardens, and they were all interesting applications. One of them was found to be to be deficient, really, in accomplishing the purpose of community gardens. The 3 others were all very good applications. One was from Scotts Run Settlement House. One was from a citizen in the core area, Chris White, who is currently operating with Scotts Run and other community agencies, a small community garden that he wishes to expand. And this would be purchasing fencing for his community garden and also basically tripling the size of the community garden that he's operating. And the third one is a project with the city of Westover and a group from WVU. And it would be establishing a community garden in Westover City Park. All of that came up just under the $15,000 for the grant that we got as part of the Green Bag Road project. We're pretty much ready to go. We're finalizing the arrangement for the advance of those funds from the state so we can fund those programs. The way we are looking to do it is having the participants submit receipts for their purchases, and the MPO will reimburse them for their purchases. I think they're all good projects. We included an informational package in your agenda package so you can understand the groups that we're funding with that. And Mr. Carr's been working with me to get the invoice submitted to DOH and get that funded from the Green Bag Road project. So we're just waiting a little bit from hearing from the engineering division to make sure that invoice is acceptable and we will be able to move forward and start getting the community gardens up and running or expanding.
Do you need an action from us?
There's no action required. This is an informational item.
So it's informational?
It's
Okay.
informational.
I just want to say, I'm having difficulty supporting the Scotts Run Settlement House garden in Cheat Lake. There's a problem I have. I mean, my students from University High School, the whole area in Scotts Run is an integral part, and I just find it somewhat discomforting that we finally get a garden going, and instead of putting it where it's needed in Scotts Run, we're putting it in Cheat Lake. I understand why. I'm just stating that as a concern, and it does bother me.
And I would say that,
Yeah.
not defending it or
Yeah.
either way, I was question because I know of the moving of Scotts Run. I can tell you where Scotts Run was located, they were going to have a very hard time finding the availability of the property needed to put a garden in and to adequately
Yeah.
put it out there for the years to come. They tried one in the little city there, It just didn't work because it's in between two buildings, shading of the buildings.
Right.
That type of thing. I understand what you're saying, the concerns. I would tell you, the biggest thing I noticed when looking at all these projects, and I'm not faulting them, they thought hard on what they wanted to do, is the first thing I would have wanted was equipment, in the fact of how you gonna, the roteller, you don't even have a roteller, hey, you gonna dig it up, how you gonna do it, but hey, they're the ones that ask for the funding, that's what they say they can do it with,
That's fine.
have at her, that's all I can tell them.
Okay.
They might see a time where they might be going, and I did notice, I believe it was the Scott's Run, that actually exceeded by $12 and something, the amount of allowable money. Somebody paid it $12, because quite frankly, I would have given $12 to move forward. Because community gardens is something, especially I'm interested in the one explore, not even in my backyard. I don't know exactly where it is. It's different, it's unique. If he's putting those trees in, he's definitely gonna need that fence, an 8-foot fence, so, but I've always thought we needed a community type garden. Not quite where I would have put it, or not quite where the level of these gardens that I would have put it. I'd have used them not only for the gardening, but for the training of how to preserve, and I would involve senior centers. There's a lot of things I would have done, and they still had a possibility of doing that.
Yeah.
But thank you for the information. Thank you for the crew that worked together to get these out there. I think it answers the question that we brought before them. Thanks to the state for making that funding accessible and moving forward, because like I said early, it's gardening season. We gotta get her going. If they can find the time in between the raindrops, they need to get started.
And we're very pleased, and Jackie Pete has been the project manager for us, doing a lot of the paperwork and everything. I want to thank her for that. She's done a good job with it. So we're happy to get this up and running. We just need that last little final step, and we're all good. I will also let you know, though, that we do have a reporting requirement in the contracts that we're working with them on, that they will report to the local general government that they're in. So the county commission would be receiving reports from the Scotts Run group. Westover would be receiving a report from the one that's in their city park, which you should be able to see. They'll be coming to you. Yeah, about just a report. This is what's going on.
And if you go out there in July, Mr. Mayor, and you see it's not weeded properly, then we'll expect you to weed it.
Your staff, your staff done.
So, but yes, and also Mr. White's would also come to the county commission.
Okay.
So,
Also want to make sure there's no weeds, the other type of weed.
yeah.
Moving on, if there's no further communications or questions about that.
No.
Moving on to action item number 8, update on the downtown micro simulation study.
And I think, Mr. Chairman, I actually gave that report as part of my executive director's report, so that is moving forward.
It was a good call. Well, at least that was a good call.
Oh, okay, yeah. I thought it was very good.
Item 9, draft electrical charging station study.
Yeah, and this is kind of an initiative. I think we're the only MPO in the state that's really taking a look at this. There is a federal initiative in support of charging stations. This is really a generic, you'd almost call it a market identification study. And I have some extra copies. I didn't put copies out on the table for everybody, but I have extra copies if you want. But it's using the federal requirements, the Federal Highway Administration, along with the Department of Energy, has tools to identify the needed density for public charging stations. Is taking a look at our population, evaluating equity issues, mobility issues, those sorts of things, and identifying the general areas where we need more charging stations. And this is an informational item also today. We will put it out for public comment. And once we're satisfied that we've identified This identifies all the funding sources available for getting charging stations installed, as well as where the charging stations are needed. Once we get that public input into the ideas brought forward about the areas, we'll ask the policy board to adopt this, and we will then be able to provide it to the market to identify where charging stations are needed. The city may wish to consider encouraging applicants or the towns to install charging stations based on this kind of project. We're just trying to get ahead of the curve. We know that electric vehicles are becoming larger, and we're trying to be proactive in addressing that. I also thought it was a good exercise for staff. But there are copies of this out for your review. I included it, PDF of it, and I have a few more extra copies if you would like to take a look at this stuff.
Any questions?
States are the direct recipients as implement physical strategies to protect the funding solutions of community. So we're all going to be responsible all on this balance to lighting, city stations, security, surveillance, emergency call boxes, fire prevention, charger blocks, strategies to prevent tampering and legal surveillance of payment devices. Is that all what we're going to have to do?
That says if you're receiving one of their grants to do it. But that's also the same thing that's available at a gas station at this point. It's not really, if you think about it, they have to have fire suppression, they have to have many of those things.
That's the gas station. It's just a freestanding. I mean, what?
Well, I was just going to say that that's private funding on the gas station side of it. This is different. If you want our money, this is what you have to do. The grant mentality.
If you were to receive federal funding to do that, those would be the things you need to provide.
And the safety part of it would be by law.
Again, it's an informational item, so the cities can look at it, or whoever, the county, and make a decision. They know what the grant is, and all they can take, read up on it before you commit one way or the other. Okay, other business. The only thing I would like to go back, the informational committee, just a second to tell everyone that have you any questions or concerns on the Star City 155, anything that's come before you, people asking questions, I would like for you to get that to Bill, and I would ask that Bill put that out to the full committee. Any question that comes before us, and also Bill had asked that you see who we can get with the state, that we share any questions we get with them. I don't want anybody coming into the committee meeting thinking we're blindsiding, so I would like to have as many questions as possible out there so people can look at it and have a chance to get us the answers that they have, and that way we're not delaying or taking forever, because everybody's time is precious, especially when you get all this weight on top of your head, you can become very aware of time issues. So
We will do our best to schedule it in a timely fashion.
And since we tabled it, it will come up at our next meeting, June.
Right.
Right, so I want to clear, we've only moved it for 4 weeks so we can get the information.
Joe, I would like to add,
Yeah.
since Steve will be on that committee, keep Mayor Lewis in the loop,
Yeah.
since it goes right through her back door.
We-
In other words, we don't want her to wait until 4 weeks from now to find out.
Right.
Yeah. Keep that communication open.
But what I may do is and do a summary memo of whatever the meeting we have and establish it for the whole policy board.
Yeah, but as it's going on, you may have questions, like I said, because it's in her playground, not ours.
so I give her time to, if she's got any questions, to get them to me now or during the process.
Who are we reaching out to get this information?
We would be reaching out to folks on the deputy secretary level
Okay.
who oversee the programming of the PIP, I'm sorry, the State Transportation Improvement Program, and asking for clarification of these movements. And I think there's concern about the commitment since it's moved to the out years, as it were, and helping the informational committee understand why that's happening.
And one quick clarification on the statement Tom said there, he's correct. We tabled it tonight, but doesn't necessarily mean it comes back up at the next meeting unless moved to remove from the table. So at that point in time, somebody on the committee or board would have to move to remove it from the table to take the appropriate action forward.
So, Bill, are you collecting these permit?
Yes.
I don't know my license.
And that is the permit to give us the parking spots out there if you have the paperwork.
The last page.
So, and I'll go get mine and bring it in. I'll get a ride home somewhere. Mountain Line is out of our way.
It's a lot easier.
And the levy just passed, so it's gonna keep coming.
That's right.
It's good news.
That's right.
No other business before it? Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you. Very, very appreciative.